Hello guys, I'm Grawshellar. Welcome to another video in which I'm gonna explain the Katakuri deck and I'm gonna give you guys a deck list of my choice, so let's go see it. Alright, so we start with Charlotte Katakuri as the leader. This deck is really easy to play but slightly difficult to understand at the beginning, so I will be going through all the cards little by little and I will explain to you guys what they do. So you may understand the deck a little bit, but it's a really easy deck. It just works by itself. Okay, the leader, if you give it one down when attacking, you can check the top of your lives or the lives of your opponent. Then you can place it at the top of the bottom of the life area, and this leader gains 1000 power for the attack. So that means that it's almost always gonna be hitting by 7k with just one down, because you're gonna be controlling lives every turn, if possible, because you need those triggers to happen on your field, because this deck just has a 3 zillion triggers, so you're gonna constantly be treating your lives like trying to put the triggers that you want, right, to come later or to come sooner, and you're gonna be changing those in your lives, so you're gonna always be hitting with 7k for one down. And the thing is that even if there's no life cards, neither in your field or in your opponent, this still triggers and you still get the 1000 extra, so you're always gonna be hitting with 7k no matter the case, because you can look up to 1, so it means that you don't really need to. So that's really nice. Alright, we have Sanji, 4 copies. This is a 2k counter. Like 2k counters are almost always gonna have 4 copies for almost all the decks. This card you can maybe play it because it's not bad to play. This is probably one of the counters that you probably want to play if you need to. It's for 2, a 3k. You put it 2 dawns, and then when attacking you take 1 life. You put 1 life from the top of your deck. That's a really good one, just because you can trigger something from your life, so it's like drawing 1 card, but you have the option to trigger it, right? So it's really solid if you're controlling your life cards and you're like, okay, I need to trigger this, so you just play this card, next turn you attack with it if it survives, or mostly at the beginning, right, to try to trigger something, because you're always gonna be refreshing your life area, so you're not losing any lives with this card, so it's really nice. We have 4 copies of Charlotte Cracker. This is one of those cards that have trigger. You discard 1 card from your hand, you play this card. Almost all of these cards have that, so they're gonna be played for free. So this deck really gets their table set up by literally doing nothing, just getting hit, and then yeah, you don't have to pay for most of the cards. For the costs, this card is really strong because it always has a counter 1000 for being a super rare, and I feel like that is always good to have on a super rare, because when they don't have that, it's like dead weight on your hand if you cannot play it, so that's good. Okay, for 1 done, if you have less life cards, no, less life than your opponent, which is mostly the same, this character gains double attack and 1000 power. Now, that is a lot of pressure, because if the opponent is super aggressive and you have this on the field, because it has been playing for your lives, your next turn, you give it 1 down, it's a 7k with double attack. So if they are pressuring you and you have less lives, you can give so much pressure with this, and then you're gonna start healing lives with other cards like crazy. But until then, having less lives, this card, super strong, gives a lot of pressure. Alright, Charlotte Smoothie. I put 4 copies of this. You can put less if you want, like 2 cards is fine. I just think that this card is also really good to give pressure to your opponent, and if you have a lot of lives, like, you lose nothing by using this effect. So for 4, it's a 5k, same as the other card. If you trigger it from your lives, you just discard 1 card from your hand, you play it for free. And then if you add 1 card from your lives to your hand, then again, you have the triggers, right? This character gains 2k power for this battle, so with no dawns, it's already gonna strike for 7k. This is really good if you really wanna give pressure to like white bird decks or really aggro decks, right? In the case that you have enough lives, obviously, because you're gonna, as I said, start healing like crazy later. So this is a good choice to play. You can play other cards, we will see them later probably. Okay, Charlotte Pudding, this is a necessity. This is the searcher. You can search for any card of the deck because all the cards of the deck are gonna have Big Mom or Sanji. So for one, an on-play top 4 cards from your deck, and then you take one card, literally, because it's always gonna be Big Mom or Sanji. The rest, bottom of the deck, any order, same as a lot of the searchers. Okay, we have Pero, 4 copies of this card, another card with a trigger that you discard 1 card from your hand, you play it. Really stupid, for 3 is a 5k, also, you can play it early, it's really nice to have on the field, and if it's KO'd, same as Pudding, it's a searcher, it's just the top 3 cards instead of the top 4, but it's literally the same effect as the on-play of Pudding, but just with the on-KO. Okay, and then we have the most stupid, powerful card in the entire game, in my opinion, which is Charlotte Lin, super rare. This card is absolutely busted. Okay, it has a strong effect, and it's still a 12k by 10 cost. Yeah, it costs 10, but it doesn't matter. It's a 12k, which is already quite strong, but the effect is busted. Like, you recover 1 life from the top of your deck, and you thrash 1 life from your opponent. So just by the effect itself, it's busted. But then it's a 12k. Now, I feel like this card, it's too overpowered. They should have nerfed it a little bit, like, instead of being a 12k, being a 10k, because it already has an absurd effect, right? Like, I would put some limitations on this card, like having to discard cards from your hand or something, right? It has no downsides. The only downside is that you have no downs to protect yourself next turn, but even by that, it doesn't matter. You gain 1 life, you are thrashing 1 life of your opponent. It's just busted. You run 4 copies of this. This is the core mechanic of this deck, is just being alive until you can start playing these cards turn after turn, because it's gonna be so difficult to kill. It's a 10-12k, so it's not easy to kill on 1 turn. The opponent needs to have insane mechanics to kill this on 1 turn, because you can protect it with counters, and you're gonna be doing that the next turn probably, and the next turn, and the next turn, and then you're gonna keep healing, and the opponent is gonna be pressuring with 12ks on the field and having less lives. It's really difficult to deal with this with this card if you start playing it like all the turns. Okay, we have Strausen, I don't know how this card is pronounced. It's a 2k counter, you run 4 copies obviously. You might play this card in some niche scenario in which you're gonna get rid of, I don't know, searchers like the green ones, right, that stay on the field and they can repeat the search process just to stop them from drawing cards indefinitely if they have a lot of blockers or something. So you might play this, but 99% of the cases you're gonna treat this as a 2k counter. Okay, this card, Shirahoshi, I would say you can play other cards other than this one. I've put this one because I still need to test a lot more the yellow deck. This is a solid card if you have it in your lives, or if it comes from the top of your deck to your lives. Just because the trigger, you play the card in itself, you draw 3 cards, you trash 2. Really strong effect, it has 1000 counter too. It's not a bad option. You can put other cards, but this one can be really good. Some scenarios, I just run 3 copies, you can run whatever you want, like 2 copies. I wouldn't run 4 copies, I think that's excessive for this card, because it's really situational. If it falls onto your hand, you're mostly gonna discard it with an effect of trigger on playing a card, because you're not gonna play this directly, you want it to be in your lives. Okay, Charlotte Katakuri Secret. This card you can play any number you want, from 2, 3 or 4 copies. I feel like 2, 3 is the safe option. Like 2 is really nice, because at this stage of the costs, you're all gonna start playing Charlotte Lindens. We will see that later. But having a few copies of this card is really good, just because you put one character with a cost 8 or less top of bottom of its owner's life area. That means you can do that to yourself if you really want to heal, and it can be a card that has a trigger to play itself. You can first attack with that one, then put it to your lives, so it's a trigger, it comes back for free and you're protecting the card, and you have, right, like a shield of another card on your lives. Or you can just get rid of an annoying card that costs 4 or less, like a Noden, a Kid Blocker, like stupid high cost cards like that. You can put them at the bottom of the opponent's lives, so they are not gonna see them until the last strikes or something. You're probably gonna trash it with the Lindens effects, so it's a solid choice, solid play. Nevertheless, 2-3 copies, I would feel it's the good amount. Okay, we have Charlotte Brule, 4 copies, 2 just because of the trigger. Like, you're only gonna play this card for the trigger, because you have a blocker with trigger, there's nothing else. For 3 is a 1k blocker, it doesn't matter, you're just gonna stop a strong attack with it, and it comes free, you don't have to discard anything, so really solid card to have on your lives. Alright, Charlotte, Pudding, 2k counter. I don't think you're gonna do the on play ever, so I would say 2k counter, 4 copies of this. There's nothing much to that card. Alright, Charlotte Linlin from the starter deck. This card, like, I feel 3 or 4 copies is good for this card, just because it's really good. For 7, it's an AK. You give your opponent a choice when you play this card. Like, they trash one of their lives, or you get 1 life from the top of your deck. That's really strong, but if the opponent has literally not life cuts, if they are at their last hit, playing this card is kinda useless, because they can still choose to thrash 1 card, and then the effect doesn't happen, but you have still played the card. So this is only good whilst the opponent has life cuts, because they can still choose that, and then you gain something from the on effect. If they don't want to trash life cuts, you are still gonna heal. Remember that you cannot pass the total life of your leader, right? But you can still have like 5 lives, leaving the opponent to like a 1 life card, because you keep healing with these cards. Also, you want to be second most of the cases, just because you're gonna play these cards that are non-par, because you're gonna play these for 7 and then have 1 done still, right, for your leader, for Katakuri. So you really need to have those 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, because those are the best numbers for you, because at 10 you can play the Charlotte Linen Super Rare 10, 8 you can play the Katakuri Secret if you want, if not you can play this, give a Dawn to Katakuri just to trigger its ability, hit with 7k. So most of the cases you want to go second just because of that. Alright, we go to the events. We have Ikoku Sovereignty. This card is so busted, like really busted. I lost 1 match just because it's trigger, because it can add 1 card to your lives. By discarding 2 cards from your hand, but you wanna use it as a counter most of the times, because it gives 5k to your leader or one of your characters just by 2 dons, which is crazy. So this card is really good. I would run through 3 or 4 copies. 3 is really good. It's a solid middle ground. Okay, we have Thunderbolt. This card is another card that you can run like from 2 to 4 copies. I feel like 3 is a safe choice, because it's a really good card, even more if it comes from your trigger, because you're gonna KO an opponent's character of cost 5 or less. If it comes from your trigger, it's just free. If you play it, it's by 2, and then you thrash 1 card from your top of your life area. That stings a little bit, but you're still gonna control the table to some degree. So really good card to have, just the trigger is better. Okay, now we come to the cards that you can probably play instead of Shirahoshi, right? Like, you can play things like this card just because of having high attack power cards, right, for White Bird and leaders like that. And you can also play this card from the starter deck, Charlotte Katakuri. I feel like it's an underestimated card, but it can be really good. For 4 it's a 6k, it doesn't have the counter, unlike the other one, but the on-play is nice. You look up to one life card from the top of your or your opponent's life cards. You put it top of bottom, just like your leader, and then if you have less life cards than your opponent, this gains rush. So this is really good when the opponent is pressuring you, just because for 4 you're gonna have a rush character, right, to give pressure to the table. So I think it's another solid option. It's a solid card too to play. You can also run Charlotte Daifuku. It's another solid card for 4, it's a 5k, it has counter 1000. If you keep it on when attacking, you add one card from the top or bottom of your life area to your hand. You place one card from the top of your deck to your life area. So same as Sanji, I would say. You just draw one card that can have a trigger, and you can do the trigger, because you're always gonna have the same lives. Now it's a 5k, so it gives a little bit of a pressure, right, on the field. It's not played automatically with a trigger or something, but I feel like it's really good. You're gonna give pressure to your opponent, you maybe trigger a card that can play by itself, so it's a solid combo to have. So all those cards instead of the Shirahoshi are also options. Overall, I would say like almost all of the other cards are really solid for this deck. There's not many yellow cards yet, right, until we come to like OP04 etc, and the starter deck that's also yellow and stuff. But overall, solid deck. This is probably one of the best, if not the best deck in the meta right now. Really stupid to play because it just plays by itself. You just protect yourself a little bit, you control your lives, cards play by themselves, and then you start playing the 7 cost big mums and then the 10 cost big mums, and then your opponent can do literally nothing because you keep healing and you keep giving pressure to your opponent. So it's a really strong deck. Okay guys, that was everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content, give the video a like, and I'll be seeing you guys next video.